Alright guys, I want to welcome you back to another TBR7 video, and in today's video I'm actually going to be taking apart the bike and doing a couple of those things that I previously mentioned in my last video, and I'm going to be taking that head off to do a little port and polish and decking on, because we need all the performance we can get, especially when we're moving to this setup I have. And if you're curious what exactly all this is, I don't want to be putting links in the description for everything before I make sure that it completely works, because I want any recommendations I give to you guys to give you full confidence that it works on the bike and that you won't have any problems with it. So that's why I'm testing these things out for you and kind of documenting this process so we all understand how these bikes work and how we can work on them. Now also in the last part of my video, if you stayed to the end, I mentioned a little piece that's going to be going in the bike to help really wake it up. That is actually a camshaft that I've ordered from Brazil, and the sad part about that thing is the camshaft can't be sent out right now because the US is not taking orders from certain countries, and I'm not sure if it's from Brazil or not, or whatever country I ordered it from, but the guy who was sending it to me said that it can't be sent at this time due to American companies blocking shipment. So he's going to try one more time on this Monday. Probably the Monday already passed by the time you're seeing this video, but he's going to see if he can send it out, and hopefully I can get that soon while I have this all apart and I can throw it in, because I would like to do the head, the Nibbi carburetor, and the cam all in one, kind of like a complete package. But if I have to, or even if you guys want to see it, I can just do the head with the Nibbi and then do the cam afterwards to see what kind of results you get with just the cam added onto that. That being said, I am looking for a couple more parts for it. I got roller tappets for down the cam followers, the roller cam followers, so that should help reduce wear on the cam whenever it comes in, and actually give you a little less resistance, so it should be a little more efficient with top end power. But one thing I'm looking for, and maybe you guys can help me out with this, is I'm looking for push rods. I'm looking for chromoly push rods for this bike. If you guys have any information on the size, like the length and the diameter of these push rods, maybe what I can put in here. I want some really strong push rods. Even though the cam is just added duration, no extra lift, I would like to have the stronger push rods in this thing, just in case, you know. I don't want to have a bent push rod and then have decreased performance over time. So if you guys could help me out, maybe if you know that information, please let me know in the comments below, and I will definitely order those right away. So without further ado, let's start tearing this thing apart. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is take off all the plastics in your way. So I'll be taking off the tank shrouds, the fenders, and actually the seat as well. And I'll be taking the tank off as well, just so we can open up the whole thing. You're going to be using the hex head. If I knew the exact size, I would tell you. I'm going to try to tell you all the sizes. To get the seat off, guys, you want to hold right around the middle of the seat, kind of like where this hump is. You want to push down and back, and that'll remove the seat. So just give it a nice little push down and back, and it comes right off, just like that, guys. All right, next we're going to be taking off the tank, and you could take off the fenders right away, but what I've actually found out, and I kind of like doing, is you can keep the fenders on the tank. You don't have to remove them, just kind of a pain in the butt, on and off, more things you have to take apart. You can actually just bolt them right off, and they come right off with the tank. So I'll show you how to do that here. So obviously, first thing, make sure that you've drained pretty much all your gas out and turn the fuel line off. Then you're going to want to disconnect the fuel line. So make sure when you do disconnect the fuel line, you just have a rag handy, just in case there's a little leftover fuel in the line. I always run my bike dry when I park it. But yep, look at that. It still is a couple drips. And that's to be expected with pretty much everything. Then you're going to want to take an 8mm socket and ratchet, and you're going to want to come right around in here to where this attaches the shroud, this little bracket that attaches to the frame. Just come in here and loosen this. Now that both of those are out, switch your socket to a 10mm. Hopefully you didn't lose yours. And just loosen the tank. And then the way this tank is set on, it has two little C channels, and there's little posts sticking out with rubber discs on the frame. So when you want to pull the tank out, grab underneath of it, probably grab right under here and in the front, and you're going to want to pull it backwards and sort of upwards, and it should come right off. Alright, so the tank's off. Feels like the fuel line's holding this up a little bit. Oh, you know what? I forgot to disconnect the fuel sender as well. So this is your fuel sender. Just go ahead and disconnect that. Boom. And just like that, your tank is off. All right, so now that we have everything off, I do want to show you guys something, because in my last video, someone commented how to get rid of the annoying beeper noise. So right here on the TBR7 is the beeper for your turn signals. It just pulls out of this little tab right here, and I'll show you right now. What I'm actually going to do is not cut the wires, what a lot of people do, just to completely get rid of it. But this hole right here on the beeper box is what lets out most of the sound, and I want you to check this out. What I'm actually going to do is just cover this hole with a little bit of tape, and it's going to dramatically reduce the noise output of this thing, and I'll show you by just using my finger. So we put on the turn signal. It's really loud. Put my finger. Check that out, guys. It's just a little tiny beep now, not much. And this way, you leave your turn signal on, it'll remind you to turn it off, but it won't be loud enough to be annoying. So I hope that'll help out. But if you do want to completely get rid of it altogether, you can either A, unplug these, or 2, snip the wires. Boom, no more beeper noise. Alright guys, so what I did, I went ahead and did the beeper mod. I actually went and got some of this packaging foam I had from one of the boxes I had laying around from ordering parts. Shoved it down in the hole. Then just took some good old electrical tape, wrapped it around the sides, around the top, and check out the results. It's much better, not as loud, not as annoying, but it'll still remind you if you left your turn signal on. Check that out. Barely noticeable, and with the seat over top, it'll muffle it just a little bit more, so that's perfect. So what we're going to do next is take off the carburetor and the intake boot, and for that you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver and a 10mm wrench. And then next, you're going to go ahead and loosen the cap on this. Go ahead and pull out your slide and your needle. Pull those away for now. There went the little spacer. It's interesting. And then you can go ahead and pull out your carburetor. And boom, carburetor's out. Alright, now that you got the carb out, let's take the intake boot out. And again, that's just another 10mm wrench. Now, if you're not changing carburetors, I recommend you leave this on, because what you want to do is do a port match on the head here. All right, so another thing I'm going to do is when I'm actually going to run that Nibbi carburetor with the pod filter, I'm going to have that pipe go into the stock airbox, but I'm going to be modifying the airbox. I'm actually going to be keeping this lid off. I might make a way of an enclosure to help keep water out, but this lid is going to come off because this is a restriction for the Nibbi. And also, we need to take this tube out of the stock airbox. So let's take this off. And this is just Phillips head screws holding in the lid. God damn it. These are stubborn bastards, aren't they? All right, there's one. All right, let's see where there's more. I will say no, microphone cable got in the way. Makes it kind of hard to access this, to be honest, for maintenance. Not the easiest airbox to access. That's for sure. I've taken this off once before to see if I could do an airbox mod on these things, but actually the TBR7s, you do not need an airbox mod if you're running the stock airbox. This is already flowing better than a Hawk 250 airbox. It already has the mod, what seems like, done in the design, which is really nice for TBR7 owners to know. You don't need to do it. You don't need to take this apart at all to do the airbox mod, because it's already an improvement over the Hawk 250 stock, that is. Obviously, the Hawk guys, they like to modify their airbox flow a little better. And if you have a Hawk, you should definitely do that. A little bit of performance gain you get from that will be worth it. Shoot. So, all in all, this build is going to take a while. So, I'm actually going to be trying to film a couple other things. So to get this airbox lid off, it's kind of a process. Not gonna lie. You kind of have to rotate it around and find a sweet spot to get it out. I found this is the best way. Rotate it out. Come on. Alright, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's this way. I can't really remember. Oh yeah, it's this way. Rotate it out this way. Push down on the airbox just a little bit. Squeeze it out. What is it caught on? Oh, wow. Stubborn, isn't it? There we go. Man, was that stubborn. So yeah, you can already see that this is a much better flowing airbox lid than the stock Hawk. So no real need to do an airbox mod here at all. It goes directly into the filter. Alright, well guys, I seem to hit a bump in the road. Before try to get the head off and everything to get ready to be ported and polished, I wanted to mock up my Nibbi carburetor with the QCR intake and all that, just to get everything to line up perfect, because I wanted to port match the intake with the head. So with the coupler on, it was smacking the frame, and the carburetor would be sitting like this, and that's not level at all. I tried to modify the coupler so that these would be flush with each other and you can get as far as possible on it, but look, it's just hitting the frame still. There's not enough room with the frame with the QCR intake to get it to sit level. That's what you're looking at right there. It's almost like a little bend that needs to be done. So what really needs to happen for this Nibbi carburetor to work perfect on your bike is I need to find a smaller intake than this. This is just too long. So let me know in the comments below if you guys have ran this carburetor on these bikes. Oddball Performance, I'm talking to you, man, because I know you run this with the QCR intake. Did you have this problem on your Hawk? Like, were you hitting the frame? I mean, like, that is just ridiculous that this happens. I'm gonna order an intake or two tonight, ones that I think might work. All right, guys, so we're back in the next day. I had a real big problem with the Nibbi carburetor fitting. It was just smacking against the frame right here. The QCR intake did not work, and I had to modify that a lot. I ended up cutting a piece off and then angling it out so kind of shift the carb outward and point it this way. But it works now, and it lines up. Everything's in. Everything's good. There's just a little bit of room in between the intake and the frame now, and there's the air filter and the open air box, and we'll be able to run an open air box like that. No real different from just running a pod filter right here, but this will give us a little added protection just when riding around. The only issue that I have is there's a little gap right here. I'm just gonna fill that with a little bit of quick steel, and then I got some black silicone, seal that all up, and it should be good. So next, let's move on to starting how to remove this head so we can get it ready for porting and polishing. All right, guys, to start with the head, you're going to want to start by removing the valve cover, and you're going to need a 10mm wrench for that. And then while you're at it, you might as well just loosen your exhaust studs to get the exhaust off, because that's going to come off next as well. All right, so now that you have your exhaust header off and you have your valve cover off, next thing you want to do is remove the mount right here that goes to the frame, and then you're going to want to loosen these 3 bolts to remove the valve train, and then from that we can get to the head studs. All right, so now that you got your valve train off, go ahead and pull out your push rod. They just come straight out, and then that'll reveal the head studs. And we have a little like head stud out here. We have one here, one here, one here, and one over here in this little hole that you don't forget about, and then that should pull your head right off. All right, so I have all my head studs loosened, but don't be like me. I forgot to loosen these here, these 2 bolts here, along with, I mean, when you take off this one, you should take off this one here as well, on these 2 up here. So we'll take that off, and then we'll show you how to lift the head off. All right, so now that everything's loosened, we're just gonna go ahead and pull the head off. Rotate it out your way a little bit. There. And there you go, and that reveals your cylinder and your piston, and that's how to take your head off. Guys, so we got the head off. I just wanted to show you guys stock ports that I have on my bike. We'll get an idea of how it looks before and after the porting and polishing. So let's see if I can get a good view in there. Here is the stock intake port. Not terrible. There's a definite bit of a wall there when it comes to the valve guide, and obviously the casting flaws, but otherwise looks like a decent port. And then the big restrictor guy is gonna be the exhaust. Let's see what we can see in here. So yeah, you can somewhat see if I can give you a better view. You can somewhat see in there how big that guide is, and that's gonna be knocked down a lot. So yeah, I think this is where we're gonna see major increase of gains is with the exhaust port. So other than that, guys, that'll be it for today's video. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to, and I'll keep you updated on the build. I'll see you guys later.